Hi there, it's CJ Miller. I'm in Shreveport, Louisiana, downtown across the Red River. It's beautiful, Bossier City, Louisiana. And I'm just out having a nice health walk. I'm back at the back end of the Asian Gardens. I'll walk us back up there in a minute, but let's check some front facing here. I love the moon, this full moon, through the haze in the atmosphere and the through the boughs of the trees. I love how that works. You know, it's really kind of cool. Some twinkling stars up there, and it's a little close to midnight, but this is not directly overhead. See, sometimes this Orion configuration is directly above me, but it's really not, and it should be sometimes positioned right above me, right around midnight. But that's not quite the case, which lets me be reminded that, you know, when we see these things, hey, you know, this is going to be a unique configuration of the stars this night, and it's never, you know, that's the way nature is. You know, every night is its own unique night, astrologically speaking. Or astronomically speaking, basically, I should say, because look at this. It looks like a moon is coming through like a valley of ridges of these trees right here. I love it. This is the famed Municipal Memorial Auditorium, where so many people found their way to greatness. Look at this. How beautiful. And this cloud moving lets us know how the air is moving and everything, which is pretty rapidly. I was out walking, and I actually caught some dust in my eyes. Like, wow, we're really, you know, I don't know if you know that much about Northwest Louisiana, but we are kind of a dusty region sometimes, you know, and the wind picked it up. There's a lot of concrete, and concrete collects. This is all, you know, concrete that I'm standing on or whatever, and it collects dust outside and everything. And yeah, some wind caught some and brought it up and caught me. Look at these. I love the lights. I love the line of these treetops, and then the light coming through them, through the bottom, and some cars and stuff, you know, coming through. It's like the composition of it looks wonderful. So, but yeah, so what I'm probably gonna do is just kind of walk up through this Asian Gardens. Don't know why there'd be a car back there at midnight. Don't know. But then again, what am I doing walking around here at midnight? So, you know, maybe they're just out checking the sights, you know. Maybe they're lovers looking for a place to be, you know. Who knows, right? Not creepy, but somebody left the lights on. See, there are people who live. There's a fan going and stuff. There are people who live in a lot of these buildings. Legitimately live in these buildings, homes and apartments and things like that. Because Shreveport is, by and large, downtown, very residential. And, well, for a long time, it was like a lot of downtown areas throughout most of the country. The downtown was the hub, it was the square, it was the city, it was the center of. And Shreveport's trying to come back to that. We're trying to really bring a lot of business back to that. We have G Unit Studios, and they have quite a few properties down here, and and I think they are about to expand. Like G Unit is just on the other side of this church in the park and everything, where my apartments are, where I live. I don't own the apartments, but I pay rent there, to live there, to be clear. But anyway, yeah, it's like, there are some empty lots and everything like that, and he wants to develop that area for affordable housing. Curtis 50 Cent Jackson, is the proprietor of G Unit Studios. We like what he's doing here, although he's got like ventures in a lot of other areas. So he really seems to be putting an investment into our area, and we welcome it. Our community down here. So downtown, I've always loved. What is it that I've always loved downtown? Well, I think when I was younger, it was just let me go out to the clubs, let me go out and party and everything in my 20s and everything. And then it was like, yeah. Then in my 30s, I was a little bit more subdued. I moved away in my late 20s, came back in my very early 30s, and I did a lot of downtown, but for a whole different reason. It was not about partying in nightclubs anymore. It was about coming out to the opera and the symphony. The Shreveport Symphony backed the opera, and then of course there was the opera. So it was great. A lot of that stuff. A lot of that got really, really appreciated it. In my late 20s, I was on the stage. In my 30s, I really began to appreciate other people on the stage, but that time I found myself being involved with the man who was a professional musician, and he played Baroque music. He played the harpsichord, but he also played liturgical music with organ, church organ music and everything like that. And he was such a professional and so aimed towards the formality of that type of music that I love all types of music, including those classical forms of music, but I also love rock, pop, a little bit of country, a little bit of Urbania, blues, that kind of stuff, whatever. And I don't know. Anytime anything like that happened, it was. I mean, the guy isn't, all right, but he was kind of a snob as far as music goes. So I really, should have been my clue that the relationship wasn't going to work. It worked out for a few years, but as much as we were with each other because basically neither one of us didn't want to be by ourselves. That's basically the crux of it. We found some things that we liked about each other, but there's a train, hang on. Okay, train passed. So we found some things that we liked about each other, but when it came to, and I really could get into what he wanted to do, but I don't know. It was as if at the time I was, I don't know. Well, I had a lot of other things. I'm not someone who wants to be, I don't have just like one interest or one hobby or one thing that motivates me. I don't have just one thing that drives me. I'm not just a music lover, or something like that. Where he was primarily focused on the music side of things, and everything involved all of our friends and everything like that, they really were his friends. Not that I didn't enjoy their company and everything, but it was basically all about who was in the musical community, the symphony community, and that, yeah, everything just involved that. And I'm not really a good, you know, I can be supportive for a couple of years and something like that, but I'm not really the kind of guy who doesn't have my own interests and my own uh, development that I'm constantly wanting to evolve with, and that wasn't going to be possible if we stayed in that relationship. We did try to stay in the same house that he was buying, but I was putting as much into that house as he was. I really was. And in retrospect and in fairness, it would have, if we were like a married couple anywhere, it would have been as much my house as it was his. But we weren't married, not even gay married. We had no contracts or anything like that, and so, whatever. Anyway, when things really did not work out and we went our separate ways, I went nuts and he went to New Orleans, so, because he took a job working at the Episcopal Church down there, So, but I'm not, I don't have bad feelings on that. But it's just, that was just reflecting on, I was downtown in my 20s. Hang on, I gotta tie my shoe. I used to come down here with my sister, who's a couple of years older than me, and some of her friends, and we'd go to a place called Pockets. And honestly, I don't even remember exactly where it was. It was kind of like you'd go someplace and you'd step down into this place. It was basically a pool hall downtown. We had fun, and then when I was 19, I started coming down to some of the gay bars that used to be down here. I discovered the gay bars. I didn't know anything about them, but I discovered them. Yeah. And I'll tell you why. This wasn't like people sometimes, I'll talk about this. My mother had this thing that and this is, please don't think bad of my mother when I tell you this. She's no longer with us, and we made our peace over a long time ago. But when I was first coming out to my mom, she was under the impression that I had fallen into a group of people and they were leading me in a bad way. And the truth is, it was anything further from the truth. And quite honestly, I sought this out. I knew about being gay. I knew what gayness was. I've been gay all my life, and clandestinely through, just all of it, so it wasn't a big revelation to me. I didn't wake up one day and be like, I'll be damned, I'm gonna be gay. It wasn't like that. And I wasn't lured or converted. Someone didn't find me and say, oh, by the way, there are all these things as gay community. This wasn't that. I knew that there were other gay people somewhere in the world, probably in my city, and I went out and I sought them out. No one had to lure me, because I went and I looked for it. I didn't know where, but I knew that I was going to find them, and I was going to find some sort of safe place, and then recalibrate, fool that I was when I was a teen, 19 years old. So so I found some so I went out and sought them. It's like I kind of pricked up my ears and put it to the wind, and found people who were a little bit more worldly than I was in the things that were going on. I found out where I could go to explore those things, about myself and everything. So, and so I loved coming downtown for that. And then, of course, that was, no one, during that time, no one pulled me into some sort of secret conversion cult. That it wasn't like a big truck. I'm sorry, it's noisy. Yeah, so that wasn't the case, but that was kind of what my mother thought was happening. And it was like, no, you don't understand. I'm looking for this. I'm trying to meet people and everything. And it's, this was a lot of times back in those days, in the late 80s, early 1990s, I was probably, when I really decided to come out, and I really decided to come out when I was in my early 20s. I kind of went back and forth a little bit, although people should have known. I was kind of like a soft coming out and everything, but I mean, I'd already tried all the typical things, I tried the military, that didn't work out. I tried some technical college education, that wasn't working for me. I did do really, really well with cosmetology. That's why my hair is blonde as hell right now, because I know how to make my hair blonde. And it's all messed up and frizzy right now because I've been pulling my fingers through it and everything. Believe me, it's kind of cute when I fix it up. So anyway, never mind that. But yeah, but I don't know. I did also at this time, not at this time, it wasn't at this time that I discovered drugs. I discovered drugs when I was, I don't know, 12, 13 years old, something like that. Really, earlier than that, really, if you want to consider alcohol a drug. But it was always like, sparse. I wasn't like, just living to get high or anything like that. But, yeah, I don't know. Somewhere down the road, the train jumped the track. I think I was like 17 years old, and I started drinking a lot more heavily. A lot more heavily than I really let on. And a lot of people really didn't know it. And somehow I found ways to kind of hide that, And other substances and drugs too and stuff like that really, really came into play. But this isn't a 12-step meeting. But yeah. But that's about the time that things really, really went bad and life got derailed for a while. And this, we didn't realize that I didn't for the longest time. And it wasn't until I was in my 30s that I had like an official diagnosis of bipolar. And the different types of bipolar were different. Now this is a condition, a disease that they used to call what did they used to call it? Manic depressive disorder or something like that. I don't know. It's the same thing, but the terminology changed and the coding for it changed as they got to understand more and more of what it was, the causality of it. And it wasn't. It was co-occurring in my case with addiction, but it wasn't caused by addiction. And as a matter of fact, it was after I found myself in recovery and I was, in recovery and abstinence from drugs for extensive periods of time. And the bipolar condition kept occurring. And collectively with the team of people, we decided, hey, it was a really good idea to treat the bipolar as it is a medical condition that needs medical compliance, So, and since I've started to do that, things have gotten way better in my life. If I want to talk about things when I'm walking around, I never know where my mind's gonna go, what my mouth is gonna open up and talk about. I guess in this case, it's going to be the importance of honest communication with your medical professionals and the medical compliance, and maybe trust the doctors. Don't make these decisions all by yourself when it comes to dealing with experts. Maybe advocate for yourself and the type of results that you want to get from your medical care and what's possible and what's not. Don't be afraid to get second opinions and everything, but really stay in the realm of medical compliance. Don't just be like, I don't necessarily feel this particular medicine or this particular pathway is working for me, so let me just quit cold turkey and just screw it. No, any course of action, especially when it comes to a condition like bipolar or many other mood disorders, anything like that, it's really going to take, and I'm speaking from experience, it's going to take quite a while to really level out and to know what regimen is best for the individual. This isn't a there's a template now that people can go off of to say, hey, this person's case kind of looks a little bit like this other person's case, and so maybe a similar regimen of treatment can work. There's that, and that can help, but it's still going to take time to level out. And you have the other end of things where there is a period of medical compliance, and oh my God, yeah, I feel great, I feel awesome now. Okay, the crisis is past. I feel like I can get back to life, and I feel wonderful, and I'm cured now. I don't need the medicine because I'm feeling great. So the crisis is over. I don't need the medicine. Well, the reason why the patient is feeling better, or the consumer of the medical service is feeling so much better, is because the method of treatment, the regimen of treatment, it is working. And in order to maintain that goodness, that good medical result, the medical compliance is required. You got to stick with the regimen that is working. The reason why you're feeling better, the reason why you don't have the symptoms, is because what's being done is what's working. And as soon as a person decides, hey, I feel better, I don't need the treatment anymore, and they go off the treatment, what happens? Well, in short order, the results of that regimen are no longer working for them. And the thing about bipolar is it is a condition that may start to present itself slowly, and then what may happen is that it may take a few months, it may take up to, depending upon where you are, because it's sometimes the episodes of mania or the episodes of depression or whatever that make it bipolar, dependent upon. But that determines bipolar within a period of time. Some bouts of mania with at least one bout of depression, or some bouts of depression with at least one bout of mania. And then you can also find your way oscillating from a normal state to depression or mania, but they're episodic. It's not a constant state. See, depression would be as if you're constantly depressed all the time, and mania would be if you're just like constantly manic all the time, so, and bipolar is you oscillate between conditions, and the causality, addiction looks a lot like bipolar, because when you're putting drugs and chemicals in your body into a normal mind, that normal mind is not going to act like a normal mind. And so you can't really diagnose a co-occurring case of bipolar with mania until after a period of, abstinence from chemicals, sobriety, no drugs, no other types of alcohol. No alcohol, no other types of drugs. You know what I mean? They're all the same to me. Drugs and alcohol. Alcohol is a drug or whatever. But I'm trying to be, as I talk about this, open. Okay, so I don't gamble. It's like I'm not opposed to slipping in a $10 or a $20 bill into a machine once in a while, but it's very rare that I would do that. But I'm gonna go in and borrow the restroom. I've given them enough money that I don't mind going to the restroom. So anyways, my really, really highly bleached down here in the light. Okay, so I'll probably eventually tone it down some. This does have a toner in it, but it's a very light toner. I just felt like going blonde for a while. I was already kind of blonde anyway, and it was time for me to touch up my hair, and I either could go darker or lighter, and it's like, let me just go all the way, see what's up. I'm a creative dude. So anyway, in reference to my mom, and everything, it's just, she was raised in a very, coming from a very religious background, and even though nobody among us are perfect or anything like that, but she had to work those things out for herself. But within in no time at all, she really was like, once she realized that I wasn't that I wasn't gay because of a bad influence, that I was gay because it was who I am. Then she found her way to come to terms to it or whatever, and we were never like at odds with each other over that. It's just and my dad probably had his issues too. We never made a big conversation about it, but there were times here and there that I felt estranged from my family, and yes, there are times that I regret living far away, like times when I lived in New Orleans or times when I lived in Florida. I don't regret the experiences that I had there. I just regret some of those periods of estrangement that I could have reached out and done more to, to patch things up. And basically some of that had a lot to do with the fact that, hey, I'm maybe not doing so well, but I don't want to, I'm not, when you go away from home and family and everybody that and everything, unless you're just, a white collar professional, you're going to go somewhere and you're going to have to start at the ground level in any sort of new community and build yourself up. And that means taking the grunt jobs, that means like I did, starting out, regardless of what I thought of myself and my qualifications. I ended up starting out, schlumping garbage, cleaning toilets, dishwater, dishwasher, doing the jobs that other people don't want to do to work myself up in the service industry or whatever. And those jobs, they change a lot too. But yeah, if you go anywhere new and everything like that, you're gonna work a lot of BS jobs, But they're not really BS jobs now that we know about it. It's like, oh my God, because do you remember, if you're the, yeah, COVID, right? And who kept the world going for us? The service industry, the people working in grocery stores, the people working in restaurants, the people doing the dishwasher, that kind of stuff. Even the people preparing they couldn't come in but they could prepare food for you to take away. Those are the people that kept the world going. If you ever think that you're too haughty for a job that's at that base level, that ground level, do not forget that those are the jobs that keep the world going, at least in our industry, or at least in our country, our first world country and all this or whatever, that it is the man at the bottom doing the grunt work that nobody wants to do, and they're the ones that deliver the stuff, they're the ones that clean the stuff, they're the ones that do all this, and yeah, sometimes those people aren't citizens, right? Sometimes they're residents. Sometimes they came by invitation. Sometimes they didn't. Sometimes they migrated and they came to see what was going on. And it's just as if me leaving Louisiana to go to Florida to see what's going on, see what opportunities I could explore. The same mentality is of a person coming from south of the border or from another country or something like that. They're not trying to be criminal for the most part. I know that there are some people who are, but for the most part, immigrants are no different than state to state migrants who are maybe just the young American male who's backpacking across Europe or backpacking across the United States, is of the same mentality of a lot of people who are coming to explore and see what's going on in the United States or whatever. And it's not a criminal mentality. I'm not being political about this. I guess we're going to talk about this, but I'm not trying to be political. I'm just saying humanity, the animal that is man, has a side of him that is exploratory, that must go out and see what's going on. Why don't we just vacation at home and stay in one place, right? Because we want to go out and we want to see and we want to experience new things that we don't get to do on a regular daily basis. We want to see what the world has to offer. Why the hell are people going to this full-ass moon, and we've got people going up there to circle it and slingshot back, and I don't know if they're going to land on it or if they're just going up to the atmosphere. I think that's it. It's the beginning of multiple trips that we're going to start visiting and looking at on the moon. Now, what the hell kind of business do we have going up to the moon? Really, what the hell is going on that we feel like all of a sudden we got to kick moon visits into high gear? But, it's not about what business do we have. It's about we are curious people and we must look around, we must explore, we must satisfy that part of ourselves, and when I say man, I mean mankind, humanity, all of us, and most immigrants who come from another place, if they're not here because they're endangered, but they're coming just to see what it's about, I think that's what most of it is. It's like our life is terrible and there's no opportunity, but maybe we can have opportunity if we go look someplace else. And where do you go? Except for where did everybody used to go? Where you can find and you can make a living. I think for the most part, the idea